The city was a raw, bruising wound beneath a sky the color of bruised plums. Rain slicked the alleyway walls, reflecting the neon bleed from distant signs. Eddie Brock, or what was left of him after a particularly brutal encounter, lay sprawled amidst the refuse. Every breath was a jagged shard of pain, every muscle screaming defiance. Wolverine was long gone, a phantom blur of adamantium and righteous fury, but the impact of their clash lingered like a phantom limb. It wasn't the physical beating that resonated most deeply, though that had been considerable. No, it was the sheer, unyielding conviction of Wolverine, the absolute clarity in his feral eyes as he tore through whatever Eddie or the Venom symbiote had thrown at him. Wolverine wasn't just fighting, he was cleansing, purging, cutting away at what he perceived as corruption. And in that moment, battered and broken on the cold concrete, something shifted within Eddie. He saw not an enemy, but a twisted mirror. For years, Eddie Brock had been a creature of rage, driven by a profound sense of injustice and a lust for vengeance. He was Venom, a monstrous shadow in the urban labyrinth, delivering his own brand of brutal, often indiscriminate justice. But even then, beneath the layers of symbiotic fury, a faint, flickering light persisted, a relic of his past, a testament to a foundational belief system that refused to be entirely snuffed out. Eddie Brock had been raised Catholic, and while his life choices had taken him far from the pews of his childhood, the core tenets of that upbringing had, perhaps paradoxically, embedded themselves deep within his psyche. Concepts of sin, redemption, divine judgment, and the ultimate struggle between good and evil were not abstract philosophies to Eddie. They were the very fabric of his understanding of the world. This wasn't a neatly packaged moral compass, mind you. It was skewed, distorted by anger, betrayal, and the unique burden of a sentient alien symbiote. He didn't just see evil, he felt it, a visceral affront that demanded purification. After that encounter with Wolverine, the vague, often self-serving attempts at heroism began to crystallize into something far more zealous. If Wolverine was a blunt instrument of justice, driven by an instinctual code, Eddie began to see himself as something more, divinely appointed. His powers, once a source of terror and personal vendetta, began to morph in his mind. They weren't merely strength or a means to an end. They were a gift, a divine endowment from God himself, bestowed upon him to cleanse the earth of the profound evil that others seemed incapable or unwilling to confront. This fervor, this sense of a sacred mission, reached its zenith during his time as Anti-Venom. Picture him, a towering, monochromatic figure, no longer the dark, creeping terror of Venom, but a brilliant, almost angelic white. This wasn't just a new suit, it was a physical manifestation of his transformed ideology. The Anti-Venom symbiote possessed the power not just to harm, but to heal, to purify, to literally burn away toxins, diseases, and even other symbiotes. In Eddie's mind, this was undeniable proof. He wasn't just a hero, he was a modern-day saint, a living instrument of divine will. He wasn't just fighting crime, he was waging a holy war against the spiritual corruption that festered in the world. The pain he inflicted, the enemies he destroyed, were not acts of violence, but acts of righteous judgment, a necessary purification to save souls and eradicate sin. This wasn't rage, this was zealous devotion. This wasn't vengeance, this was divine retribution. This Messiah complex, this conviction that he was a chosen vessel, adds such a profoundly fascinating layer to Eddie Brock's anti-hero persona. It elevates him beyond a simple brute with powers, transforming him into a figure of tragic, violent devotion. He doesn't merely believe he's doing good, he believes he's doing God's work, even if that work involves a considerable amount of brutal, bone-shattering force. His healing touch, when it came, was not an act of gentle compassion, but often the harsh, cleansing fire of a self-appointed prophet, purging what he deemed impure. Think about the implications for a moment. How does one reason with someone who believes their every punch, their every act of force is sanctioned by a higher power? Eddie Brock, the Anti-Venom, is not just fighting villains. He's fighting what he perceives as the very embodiment of evil, armed with a distorted but deeply held conviction that he is God's instrument on Earth. It's a powerful and unsettling blend of faith and ferocity. So, Eddie Brock, the violent Messiah, stands as a testament to how profoundly personal belief can shape a hero or an anti-hero. His journey from an angry outcast to a self-proclaimed saint of purification is a stark reminder that the lines between good and evil, salvation and damnation, are often blurred, especially when viewed through the lens of a fervent and unwavering conviction. We've explored Eddie Brock's unique path, his zealous convictions, and the startling transformation into Anti-Venom. What are your thoughts on characters driven by such intense, even skewed moral compasses? Do you find this religious fervor more compelling or more terrifying? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this exploration, please consider subscribing or following for more deep dives into the complex psyches of our favorite characters. Your engagement helps us continue these thoughtful conversations.